Let's come on back to your spot and let me show how we'll set up on the blocks. We'll be in a supported fish pose, and there's a number of different setups for this, but today I will ask you to have your prop going horizontal across. I have my blocks both on the medium height. If you wanted to go to the lower height, that's fine. I wouldn't go high for right now. And then let me show you what you're gonna do, and I'll explain how you would do this without blocks. So you'll come down and lay down gently so that the first block is approximately at the very bottom of the shoulder blades and slightly lower than that. And then the second block will be underneath your head. If it feels like your chin is being really tipped up high and the head is being kind of thrown back, then you might want to go on the higher notch of block. Yeah? So go ahead and get settled there. Those of you who don't have blocks but want to do something similar, you can use a roll. So you could either roll up your yoga mat or use a towel rolled up. Same thing, you'll place the roll going across and you'll have it in the same place. And those of you with the roll, you could either have the head on the floor or you could support the head with your hands, or you could have another prop to support the head. So we'll just hang out here for a little bit. The legs can be bent or straight. And as you settle in this position, see if you can feel the way the shoulder blades kind of fit into your back ribs. You could almost imagine the shoulder blades were creating a little shelf for the back of your heart. Because we're in a little bit of a back bend here, you might experience the breath in a different way than you would otherwise. So as you take the next couple of breaths, check in with that. Notice where you're feeling movement, how your body feels. Also notice if any part of you needs a little extra attention today. A little, maybe you need to move slower in a certain spot. If you have a spot like that, send your awareness right there. And let's create the intention to take care of ourselves. Ever need to move differently in a way that I suggest, please do so. And now we'll remain in your position and we'll add in a little movement in the arms. Those of you who are on blocks, let's everybody do this one. Just let the arms come up in front of you and be rather not so precise with the movement. Let there be a softness to the arms. And just let the arms start to move in any which way. So sometimes I'll call this sea monster asana. Let it be a slow movement. And notice as the arms move, the shoulder blades move in the back. I think all three of you guys were in we did a big neck and shoulder extravaganza on past Saturday. Here we are, just moving the arms and the shoulder blades around a little bit. And then from here, friends, let's bend the elbows. It's kind of a robot position, but the elbows are pointing towards the ceiling. And then reach back and hold the block that's under your head. If you don't have a block, you can interlace your fingers and hold the head. And then for everybody, can you bring the tips of the elbows up rather than letting them drop out to the side? So tips of the elbows up. If your legs are long on the floor, let's bend up the knees And then keeping the block and the head connected, you'll lift up and let the chin tuck in slightly. So it looks a little bit similar to a sit-up, but it's not that. And then start to ease your way back down. And we'll just take that a couple more times. Now, if you're feeling pretty mobile and open already through the upper back and you're having the block, you might flip the block so that you're on the flat side. So when you come down, it's a little bit lower. And you may or may not actually touch the floor when you come down. If that feels crummy or if it feels like that's just too much for the moment, go back to the other block position. And then likely you're already doing this, but let's include some breath. So it's the inhale that takes you back and the exhale that brings you up. Let's go one more time, down and up. And then we'll meet, friends, in the down position and have the head in a comfortable, supported shape. If you went lower, you might want to go higher. And then release the arms. Good. So we're coming off of the prop. Let me say this first. If you're on the blanket, I like to lift the hips, kind of like bridge, pull the blanket kind of forward to come out and then come down if you're on the roll. If you're on the blocks, I like to press into the forearms. Sit up, leading with the chest. Coming up, you might get a little head rush. And then we'll move the blocks out of the way and everybody come back to lay down. Yeah. Legs can be bent or straight. And just take another moment here. Notice how your breath is different now that you've come down. Notice how your body meets the floor. You make contact. Also notice how the shoulder blades fit into the back now that we don't have the block back there anymore. All right, let's stay where you are on the back. Bring the arms in front of you with straight arms. And then just reach the whole arm straight up towards the ceiling and you'll feel the shoulder blades move a little more apart. And then you'll drop the arm bones towards the floor and you'll feel the shoulder blades move a little closer together. So this is not a huge range of motion, just up and down a couple of times. And let's do this actually. Those of you who have blocks, grab a block and put it in between your hands. And then squeeze the block with the pinky side of the hand, and that should firm up a little more kind of under the arm or the outer armpit. And then do that a few more times up and down. Now, if you start to feel tension in the neck, do less so that the neck is relaxed. And then let's pause next time the arms are in the down position. Think about the front lower ribs dropping down more into the body, and then start to draw the arms with the block back and stop just after you can see it in your peripheral vision. So we're not going all the way down to the floor. Squeeze in a little bit more with the pinky sides of the hands and just hold this position. Yeah? So don't take the block closer to the floor, but think of drawing it just straight back towards the wall behind you. And at the same time, take the front lower ribs and pull them down towards the wall in front of you. Stretching out a little bit in that way. All right. And then let's take the block away, just put it to the side. Bring your knees in towards your chest and take a little movement here, maybe a little circle or a little side to side, just anything that feels good to you. All right, guys, so we're coming off the back, meeting in all fours position, hands and knees. So take whatever time you like to arrive here. And you probably guessed it, we'll do some cat-cows. Let's have the blocks in the front. You might want them a little bit. So start to move through your cat-cow. And notice what's going on in the shoulder blades, just naturally, and then I'll have you do something specific in a moment. So look around the back, going into cat pose. And when we do that, naturally the shoulder blades will move apart, away from the spine. And then as we come into cow pose, let the chest sink down. Let the shoulder blades move closer together. Don't squeeze them in, just let it happen naturally. And then draw the chest forward as the shoulder blades move down the back. Yeah. We'll keep going with this. Round and let the shoulder blades widen. And then let the shoulder blades move closer together and down the back. So keep going with this, and the shoulder blades are almost making a little bit of a circle, or it reminds me kind of a swimming pattern. I'm not a swimmer, but I can imagine how it would be. A little swim through the shoulder blades. And then from here, friends, let's go back to child's pose with the toes tucked under if you can. If not, just keep them flat. Walk the knees back, press the mat down, and also press it a little forward with the hands so that you get a lengthening sensation through the torso. Let the arms, the hands slide a little bit further out. Press into the floor. Let's first round through cat pose. Stretch the toes back. Let the pelvis come forward. Elbows bent, and from bottom to top, lower down, meeting on the belly. Once you've landed here, lift the front of the shoulders away from the floor, but not max capacity, just a little lift. And then we'll do a slither. So one shoulder and the other takes a little roll. We'll move a little bit from side to side. Yeah. And then I know you've done this with me. Let's pause here, just in the middle. Lift the shoulders again away from the floor. Without moving the hands, try to pull the hands towards your feet and move the chest forward. If it feels okay to lift a little bit more, do. If that doesn't feel so good, stay low. And everybody come back down. Let's do that a few more times. So the hands try to pull back, the chest tries to pull forward. Upper back is engaged. And down. And then last time here, we'll hold the position. If it feels okay for you, you can lift the hands off the floor, but don't let the shoulders drop down. Keep the front of the shoulders lifted and the upper back engaged. Yeah. All right, let's put the hands back down. Inhale here. Exhale, press back to child's pose. You can have the toes tucked or straight, your choice. And then we'll go through that whole pattern, but a little more quickly. So let's round up through the back, continue forward, unravel the spine. We bend the elbows lower down. This time just one cobra. Inhale your way up. Exhale your way back, round, and child's pose. Let's take it one more time, pressing into the floor, round to come forward. Unravel, bend the elbows, down we come. Inhale to come up. Exhale, back to child's pose. Now we're going to change the pattern a little bit. Let's round, coming up through cat pose. Continue forward, but we're going to not bend the elbows here. Keep the arms straight, and then lift up through the belly, round to go back. You might go back only halfway, and that's fine. Let's round to come forward. The head is the last thing to get there. And then you'll lift the belly round to go back. Take it one more time, around to come forward. Around to go back. Child's pose with toes tucked under, friends. Stay like this. Walk both hands a little to the right. And then both hands a little to the left. Back to center we come. Lift the knees off the floor, keep them bent. Try to press the mat forward as we send the hips back first. And then start to lengthen out the legs, coming into down dog. And for me, first down dog of any class is always a little tight. So if you want to add in some movement here, go ahead and do whatever feels good. Yeah. Now let's pause in downward facing dog. Walk the hands a little bit further forward, and then look back at your feet for a second. Can you lift the heels way up high as you possibly can? Lift the belly, round the back so the head draws in. It's kind of like cat pose. Stay round, round, round as you shift forward into plank. And then once the shoulders are over the wrists, let's D-round the spine, going into just classic plank pose. So to get out of this, let's round and go back downward facing dog. Yeah, so that's our pattern. Let's do a few of these. If it starts to feel like too much, put the knees down on the floor and do the version we did a second ago. So we round as we transition, and then we re-lengthen when we get there. So round, 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 and then lengthen. It's a lot of work for the low belly, isn't it? All right, friends, so you'll finish up the round that you're on, and the next time you're in down dog, or if you're not there, go ahead and get there. We'll meet there and take your feet wide. Bend both knees, walk your hands to the feet, heading to the back of your mat. Prop up the forearms on the thighs. And then draw the hips back, draw the chest forward, and back off of that. Yes, it's kind of like standing cat-cow. Inhale, the hips back, the chest forward. Exhale, let it round. And one more time. All right, friends, let's press out wide through the upper thighs. Use the inhale to come all the way up, arms lift. Exhale the arms down all alongside you. Stay at the back of the mat. Soften all of your joints. Just be kind of lazy here and take a little movement. Anything is fine. Slither asana. Great. And then we'll pause. Let me face this side for a second. You'll keep your wide stance. Let's inhale the arms up. As you exhale, bend the knees, bend the elbows, and lift the chest. Yeah. Inhale, we rise. Exhale, we'll pull down. So there's a little arc in the upper back. But let me show you what I don't want to see. Come down. See here. Now it's like, see how my butt's sticking back? You want to keep a little support here through the low belly. Just the upper back that takes that little arc. Okay. And then returning back to normal, let's release the arms, reset your feet so the feet are just right underneath you. Take a little hula hoop asana, around in a circle we go. Other direction. Okay. And then from here, friends, find your mountain pose. Root down through the legs. Take the arms up overhead. And we'll work with the legs for a second. So I'm going to have my back to you. From the back of the knee to the top of the hamstring, just under the buttocks, lift up. Yeah? And if you can't lift up, imagine you can lift up from here to here. Keep that lift. And then from the tops of the buttocks down, draw the buttocks down towards the heels. So the hamstrings are lifting up. The buttocks are moving down. And here we are in a mountain pose. Breathe in. Exhale, we take it down, forward fold with the legs. You can bend the knees if you wish. Come up halfway, lengthen it out. And then we're coming down, hands to the floor. Let's walk forward until you're in plank pose. So walk the hands forward. If plank is not your thing for today, put the knees down and move the chest forward. Inhale. Exhale, we'll round and go back, either down dog or child's pose. Do this a few more times. We were just here. This movement, this wave through the spine. Next time we're in the forward position, those of you who are in plank, put the knees down to the floor. Let's come all the way down to the belly. And then we'll do a kind of a funny version of cobra here. Let's go onto your fingertips, spider fingers. Turn the fingers out and let the elbows be lifted. Let the head be kind of droopy for a second. Press into the floor, and from the bottom to the top, you'll kind of roll up and then roll back down. Yeah, for me, actually, it feels better to go a little wider with the hands. You might try that. Only go up as high as it feels good in your back. If it feels pinchy in the back, either go up not as far or take a different hand position. One last little roll here. And then when you come down, let's fold the hands, rest the forehead on the hands, bend the right knee. And with the knee bent, without lifting the right half of the pelvis, just lift the right thigh up and down a couple of times. It's engaging a little bit through the glute and maybe even the hamstring. And then we'll pause. Next time the leg is down, keep the knee bent, reach back and find the foot or the ankle with the right hand. Can you send the center of the knee back and at the same time send the navel forward towards the front of the mat? A little quad stretch. All right, friends, release. And then switcheroo, bending at the left knee. Keep the knee bent and without moving the pelvis, lift and lower a few times. It's not gonna go high, it's just a little bit. Enough to wake this guy up back here. And then we'll pause. Reach back with the left hand, find the foot or the ankle. Once you've got it, send the knee to the back of the mat, the navel to the front of the mat. This left side for me is always the tighter one in this line. All right, yogis, let's release that on the left side. Take a little wiggle. And then from here, let's prop up on the forearms. And you can have the hands just stacked. Let yourself drop down for a second. And then from the low belly, like below the navel, can you create a little bit of a lift? And then from there, keep lifting up. So it's a little bit similar to Sphinx. We want to start this lift from the low belly. Then from here, friends, we're going onto the knees. Inhale. On the exhale, up you come onto the knees, press the forearms down and try to press them forward, and you'll be slightly rounded in this kind of a forearm plank variation. Yeah, and just hold for a little bit. Don't hold your breath, but hold the shape. And then lower yourself back down, take a second. Yep, we're going again with a possible add-on, and if you would like to do the add-on, go ahead and start with the toes tucked under. When you're ready, let yourself slump down for a second, and then just below the navel, lift, and let that lift travel a little bit more up the spine. From here, we'll go onto the knees, press the forearms down and forward. You can stay right here, or maybe even just come in and out. If you want to do the extra, you'll lift the knees up off the floor. You might have to make a little adjustment. Keep the forearms pressing down and forward. Keep the navel lifted. And like I said before, it might be a little bit more of a rounded, almost more like cat than cow than you normally would do in this position. Go for it. All right, let's come all the way down. Just take a little rest. Rest the forehead on the hands. Bend your knees, give the legs a little swish from side to side. Yeah. All right, friends. So when you're ready, let's meet back in downward facing dog. Once you're in position, we'll take the feet wider than you normally do. Bend the knees, press the mat forward, press the tops of the thighs back and wide. Yeah? Now when we do that so much, the weight kind of shifts towards the pinky side of the foot. Hug in a little more through the ankles so the weight distribution is more towards the ball of the big toe and less towards the pinky side of the foot. Slowly let the legs go straighter. Yeah, okay. And then from here, friends, let's bring the feet closer together, just a normal down dog position, and we'll come to the front of the mat. So bring your feet forward. Once you're there, just a halfway lift. Stay in the position. Can you de-shrug the shoulders? Pretend you have that prop. We were doing the blocks, maybe with the blanket behind your back at the beginning of class. Find that here with the heart forward. And then engage a little bit more through the lower belly. Yeah. Tiny, barely bending the knees. Press wide through the upper thighs. On the inhale, we hinge our way up to stand. Arms lift, legs lengthen. Exhale. Release the arms. Yeah. All right. So for the next bit here, my blocks wandered. If yours did too, you might have to reset them. So let's start with our feet medium width apart. Root down through the legs. Let's find that lift up. Back of the hamstrings lift. buttocks flesh descends. Take the arms up, and I'll add one more thing like that. On the back of the arm, the triceps to the pinkies lift, but then from the thumbs, trace a line down the arm to the inner shoulder. Let that part go down a little bit. Triceps to the pinkies up, thumbs to the inner shoulder down. Inhale. Exhale, cactus the arms, bend the knees, bring the hips back. Inhale, we rise. Let's take two more. Exhale, we bend. Inhale, we rise. Exhale, we bend and stay. Let's take hands to shins. Inhale, lengthen, move the chest forward. Exhale, take it down. Let's step the right leg back. Toes can be tucked or flat. We're going to bring the back knee down. And actually, let's come up, hands to the hips at first. Yeah. Now, in this position, if you're really forward, back up for a second. So the right hip is approximately over the right knee. And can you press the right shin downward? Even if the toe is tucked under, the shin won't touch, but go down towards the floor. And at the same time, lift up through the low belly. Yes, we've got kind of down in the back, up in the front. Stay there. Let the pelvis shift a little bit forward without losing the lift in the belly. Little stretch right in here. Let's stretch the right arm up. And if you would like to add in a little side bend to the left, go ahead and add that in here. Yeah. All right, bring yourself upright. Let's undo the arms, take them back down. Tuck the back toes under here and lift the back leg and straighten the front leg. Now, inhale, bend both knees. And exhale, lengthen both legs. Do that a few times. If you want to add kind of that cat-cow aspect, on the inhale, you bend the knees and try to move the chest forward. You can try to pull the blocks back too. And then on the exhale, let that go and come into more of a forward fold. All right. And then let's pause with the front knee bent, lengthen long through the back leg. And let's move the blocks if you're on the blocks. Step back into plank pose or take it with the knees down. Inhale. On the exhale, lift up through the belly first, round to go back and up, downward facing dog. And then lift up through the heels, round and come forward to plank pose. And do that a few more times, up and back, and then up and forward. Oh, it's work, isn't it? Next time we're back in downward facing dog roll, we'll stay. And from there, bend the knees. Let's come to the front of the mat. Any way you want to get there is fine. Just one time the halfway lift as a transition. On the way down, we'll step left leg back, knee down on the floor. Whatever the back foot wants to do is fine. Let's bring the hands up to the hips. And then in this position, if you came really forward in the pelvis, back up for a second. Can you press the, actually, I'm going to explain it a little differently. On the back leg, can you draw the buttocks flesh down, but can you draw the navel up? So it's down in the back, up in the front. And then if you want to add on to that, stretch just the left arm up and possibly add in a side bend. I skipped a step. Let's come back up if you did that. Keep the lift in the belly. Let the pelvis now go a little bit forward. I'll give you a little more. And then lift up and then do the side bend if you're adding that part in. All right, let's undo. Release the arms. Tuck the back toes under, lift the back knee. Inhale, straighten. Let me start over. Let's breathe in. Exhale, straighten both legs. Inhale, bend both knees. Exhale, lengthen. Do that a few more times. If you want to add a little more cat-cow aspect to it, on the inhale, when the knees bend, try to move the chest forward. And then on the exhale, let yourself round and go down. If that doesn't float your boat and you have a different way of doing it, that's fine. Take it your way. All right, friends, let's pause. Next time the front knee is bent, lengthen out the back leg long. And if you're on the blocks, we'll move them out of the way. Let's step back, plank to down dog. This time we'll just stay in the position. Bring your feet closer together at the back of the mat. And then look back at the legs for a second. Take the right leg back off the floor, but don't let the pelvis turn open to the side, yeah? From there, as long as you can keep the pelvis, the hips square, let the leg go any amount higher. Yeah, don't let it rotate open. And then lift the left heel a little to bring the right leg back down. And then we'll stretch the left leg back and up. And stay there. Any amount up as long as the pelvis doesn't turn open to the side. Not bad to do that, just not what we're working on for the moment. And then lift the right heel a little to step the left foot down. Let's take a little break here. Child's pose, bring the knees down, bring the hips back. Yeah, arms could be forward, they could go back, whatever you want to do, maybe a little wiggle or a little movement. Yeah. Now, do you remember in the beginning of class, we were on those blocks and the block behind the head, we were kind of going forward and back. We will take a version of that standing. So let's get there. Go back to downward facing dog. From your dog, come to the front of the mat, feet to the hands. Root down through the legs. Let's pick up a block. On the inhale, come all the way up. Exhale, release the arms. Yeah. Let's take a little hula hoop. Now, those of you who don't have a block, I'll say what to do. Go the other direction. Yeah. All right. So if you have a block, you'll hold it like this and put the kind of the flat part at the back of your head. And otherwise, you could either do hands to prayer and kind of lightly squeeze the head, or you could interlace the fingers and hold. Whatever you want is fine. All right, so blockhead kids. Let's start with the arms up. Yeah, give the block a little squeeze with the pinky side of the hands. If your arms are up and you can take prayer hands without the block, squeeze more into the pinky side of the hands. Then let's bend the elbows, set the block at the base of your skull, and press the head back into the block. And everybody, can you let the elbows come forward rather than letting them go wide? Great. We'll bend the knees, bring the hips back, and then press block and head into each other. Lift the chest a little bit. Yeah. Feeling that engagement through the upper back. Inhale. On the exhale, round and come kind of like cat pose, but don't go too far with that. And then on the inhale, straighten out the legs. On the exhale, bend the knees. On the inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, round just a little bit. Don't press the block into the head for the round part. And then inhale, straighten the legs, lift the arms. Exhale, bend the knees, find the block in place. Inhale, lift the chest, elbows are pointing forward. Exhale, a little bit of round. Inhale, we lengthen the legs. Let's lengthen the arms. Great. Now from here, friends, just hold on to the block in one hand. Let's step your right leg back with the heel lifted, sort of a lunge variation, and then take the block head position again. Don't press on it, just hold the block there. Let's bend the back knee a little bit. Squeeze the inner thighs in towards the midline and lift up a little more through the lowest part of the belly. And then from here, press the head into the block. Let the chest lift, a little bit of an arc. And then to get out of this, let's bring the chest back to center, straighten out the front leg, hold the block, stretch it up, squeeze with the pinky side of the hands. And if it's not too much, hinge forward on the diagonal, still squeezing with the pinky side of the hands. All right, friends, let's take the block down. Take the other block if it's handy. And then let's bend and straighten just the front leg this time. All right, friends, let's pause here. Pause with the knee bent, front knee bent. Step the back foot forward. And then on the inhale, up we come, lift, pick up a block, sorry, I didn't say that. And then take the arms down. We'll step the left leg back, finding your something like high lunge. It's not exact. Bend both knees for a second. Hug in through the inner thighs, lift up through the belly. Let's take your block, place it at the back of the head. Don't press hard, but press a little. Block and head into each other. Elbows draw in, and then start to lift the chest up, keeping the lift in the belly. Now that'll help support the lower back. And then from here, you'll start to come up, straighten out the front leg, lift the block overhead, squeeze with the pinky side of the hand. If it feels okay to hinge forward on the diagonal, do. If that feels not so good, stay up a little higher or just skip this part. We're going to meet in the down position in a second. Yeah, let's go ahead and get there. Release yourself down. Maybe your both hands are on blocks here. Bend and straighten the front knee a couple of times. Yogis. All right, let's pause. We'll get out of this a different way. Move the blocks. Let's go back, plank pose. Plank to the belly. And then once you get down there, fold up the hands, rest the forehead on the hands. You can scooch the legs back and down one at a time. And then bend up the knees and let the legs take a little circle, the lower legs. Just circle around, kind of in a lazy way. And then go the other direction. Yeah. All right, so let's release the legs. Just take a little wiggle, a little wobble side to side. And then we'll press back in a down dog. Any version of down dog is fine. We won't really stay there, but just to kind of go the other way for a second. I like the wide feet. Join me there if you like. Okay. And then to get out of this, let's meet in a standing forward fold. Any way you want to get there is fine. Root down through the legs. On the inhale, we rise all the way up. Exhale, release. Shake out the arms. Now for our next little section here, it would be useful if you had either a wall or a chair or a bookshelf that has a little bit of room. Let me show you what we're going to do. And of course, if you have a block, you'll use that. If you don't have a block, let me just say this. Any of the stuff without the block, you can go like this. Yeah? Those of you with the block, get to a wall. Let me see if, I'll just go to this wall. I think you can see me here. Yeah. If you don't have a wall or furniture around, you could do this on the floor. We're going to do the floor version later, and this is just kind of a stepping stone to get there. So you'll hold the block in between your hands, bring the forearms to the wall, or if you're on a chair, you can kind of bring the elbows to the chair, and then start to walk the feet back. So the relationship torso to legs, it's kind of like a wide V. And then in this position, with your hands, can you squeeze the block a little more with the pinkies and a little less with the thumbs? Can you tone a little bit more through the abdomen? Bend the knees slightly. And at the very, very tops of the thighs, try to press back away from the wall. Tone again through the low belly. Keep the knees slightly bent. And without moving your hands, try to drag the elbows towards the floor. Yeah, you're not going to go anywhere with that one. Good. And then we'll stay. If you can lengthen the legs without losing the pieces, you can. Sometimes I lengthen the legs and then I just collapse. So a little bend in the knees is fine if you want to keep that the whole time. Now think about where your head is. And can you keep the head in relationship to the rest of the spine? So we don't want to tilt the chin up. We don't want to hang the head in desperation, just in line with the rest of the spine. All these things are just distracting you. I know, you're still here. And then slowly, slowly bring yourself upright. Walk the legs in. You can remove the block, little wiggle. Are you guys okay? That's kind of a lot. Yeah. Alrighty. So let's come back down to the mat. 2 blocks, medium height, about shoulders width apart. Again, if you don't have blocks, you'll just do the same thing without the blocks. If you wanted to go higher, you could, or lower. That's a possibility as well. Let's have the toes tucked under. And then this is similar to what we just did. You'll have the elbows on the blocks, and it's not the pointy tip of the elbow, it's just a little back from that on the tricep. And then walk the hands, elbows forward. Yeah. From this position, and you try to bring the elbow tips more towards each other as opposed to pressing them out. And they're not going to go anywhere, just kind of that action, that direction. Now, think about the elbow tips reaching forward, the hip creases reaching back. If you can have the hands in prayer, do it. If that's too much, just whatever you need with the hands instead. And then if you have the prayer hands, try to bring the hands back towards the back of the neck and squeeze a little more with the pinkies and let the thumbs come away from each other. Tone a little through the belly, find that little lift. Yeah, you guys. And then let the arms come forward, release out of that. Just take a second, you can wiggle. You guys okay? You can give me a thumbs up. Okay, all right, okay, good. I find it is kind of intense, and my shoulders are pretty mobile, so, all right. Let's get rid of the blocks for a second, and then we'll come back down to the belly, so you can join me there. And we'll do another quad stretch. So we did this earlier where we just bent the knee. If that felt pretty like borderline, almost too much for you, you'll do that version again. If you felt like that wasn't too bad and you want different, extra, you'll slide your left knee out to the side, kind of like a frog leg. So you're bent at the hip, bent at the knee. And then the right knee will bend. And sometimes just bending the knee without holding on is plenty. If you want the extra, you can reach back and find the foot or the ankle with the right hand. I like to just rest the forehead down on the left hand. If you wanted to prop up slightly, go ahead and do. Some folks that feels crummy in the low back, so just keep your low back happy. Now from this position, whatever version you're doing, think about the knee drawing towards the back of the mat, but then think about the pubic bone pressing gently towards the floor and also forward towards the front of the mat. You want to flex the foot, that's also an option. Great, let's release. Side two. So stand the belly, wiggle a little bit. Those of you who are doing frog, take the right knee out to the side. The knee is bent, the hip is bent, and then you'll bend the left knee and reach for the foot or the ankle. If this is too much, and sometimes it's fine on one side but not on the other, just keep the right leg straight back behind you. This side for me is like borderline, almost too much. Can you send the knee towards the back of the mat? Move the pubic bone towards the mat, just straight down, but also forward. And it's not gonna go anywhere, but that little, just a little bit of effort there might give you an extra pull. Maybe flex the foot. Yeah, yogis. All right, release the left leg. Stretch the right leg back. Stay down here, just a little bit of movement. Just a little bit of side to side. All right, let's press back. Take your choice, either down dog or child's pose. Just to kind of stretch the other direction. All right, and then Mary, you can take either the block position again like that, or you can do the wall version that we did before, or a chair. But this one, it'll be a little too much pressure for the head. So the rest of you guys, actually you don't need blocks, sorry. Will come onto your elbows and forearms. And look down and make sure the elbows don't go wider apart than the shoulders. They're directly under the shoulders. And then from here, friends, you can interlace the fingers. Let's tuck the toes under. Lift the knees, but keep the knees bent. And you'll press the mat forward with the forearms so that the hips drop back. Yeah? Do that a few times. Just kind of back off. And then press forward with the arms back with the hips. And then back off. We're going to do last one, hold. Hold that position. Now the hips will want to come forward. Don't let them. Let the legs start to go straighter. All right, yogis, keep the forearms pressing down and forward. Can you bring the feet closer together and maybe walk the feet forward, letting the hips come up, but not letting the shoulders come forward, yeah? Now, from whatever position you're in, maybe this is enough, yeah? Or maybe you just come out. If you're good for more, let the right leg lift without letting the pelvis turn open to the side. And how far you go is not important. Stay there and lift the left foot a little, the heel a little higher. And then come down, the right foot beside the left. Reach the left leg back, straight leg, square pelvis, and then maybe the right heel goes a little higher. Yeah, and then come down, rest. Robin probably remembers those. We used to do those as a headstand prep. We're not going to do headstand today. Just come back down. Let's have the forehead supported. Either you could stack the arms and rest like that. You could come up like this and have the hands in the forehead. You could put a block under the forehead, whatever you want. And then it might feel good to let the head just roll a little, turn from side to side a couple times. Yeah. Right. Let the arms come back down. Let's press back, just normal child's pose. And then we'll turn over, come to sit. Sit with the legs forward, Dandasana, seated staff pose. Do, if you need to take elevation for the pelvis, take something if necessary. Let's have hands behind you. Reach the heels forward. So you've got active legs. Press the hands down, sit up really, really tall. Yeah. Now imagine you've got almost like a corset here and it's being drawn in on all sides. Let that support you as you lift the arms off the floor. And if that doesn't work and you start to collapse, keep the hands down so you can stay lifted here. Those of you who are up, from the triceps to the pinkies, lift up a little more. But then from the thumbs all the way down to the inner part of the shoulder, let that soften and release down a little bit. Dandasana. Now, if you think about it, if we were to flip over and put the hands like this, we'd be in downward facing dog. All right, release the arms, relax, take a little wiggle. Let's come down to your back and have the knees bent, the feet on the floor. Take a few times just a little side to side with the legs, a little lazy twist for a second. And then we'll come into some bridge poses. Even if you're not doing a bridge pose, the prep for it should be useful for you. So you can at least do the beginning of it. Let's pause. Reset your feet just so that your feet are hips width distance apart. And then we'll take robot arm position. So for this robot, the elbows are on the floor. And you'll press the inner border of the shoulder blade up into the back ribs. You can even wiggle a little bit to get the shoulder blades to tuck under more. A little bit reminiscent of when we were on the blocks before. Press the backs of the arms into the floor as we stay here. You can stay just like this. You could lift the hips up off the floor. Some of you might feel like you have more space if you lift the heels up off the floor. Everybody though, keep the backs of the arms pressing downward. Oh, I don't know if you heard that. Somebody Sounded like just slammed on their brakes outside. There's a squeal. Hopefully everybody's okay. All right, friends, come back down, rest. We're gonna go up again with a different arm position, and don't panic. It's the arm position that you would do for wheel pose, but we're not gonna do wheel pose. I mean, if you really want to, you could, but I'm gonna talk you through bridge with wheel arms. So before we go, let's take your right hand just up towards the ceiling, hold on to the fingers, and draw back to give a little wrist stretch. And sometimes a little bend in the elbows feels good too. And then undo, move the hand around a little bit. Side two, left arm comes up, hold on to the fingers, draw the fingers back and maybe bend the elbow a little bit. And then release that, move the hand around. So when we come into the next shape, it's okay if the hand doesn't go flat onto the floor. If the heel of the hand's a little lifted, it's fine. So take your hands like so, so the elbows bend and the fingers point kind of towards the shoulders. And notice here what the elbows are doing. Can you point the elbow tips up towards the ceiling, which might mean they have to come in a little bit. And then you'll do kind of a little pump action. Press the shoulders, the head of the arm go towards the floor, and let the upper back kind of arc a little bit, and then back off. Do that a few times. So shoulders press to the floor, upper back lifts, and down. One more time, we'll hold the position. You can either stay just here with the hips to the floor, or lift the hips off the floor, coming into bridge legs, bridge lower body, but wheel arms. Okay, and then whatever you've done, release it. Stretch out the fingers. You can wiggle the hands a little bit. And then let's do this. Just crisscross the arms over the chest. Give yourself a big hug. You could even wrap the fingers all the way around to the inner border of the shoulder blades if you can reach. All right, and then swap the arm that's on top, other side. Yes, yogis. I think it's a lot of work doing that arm position, even if you never go up into the wheel pose. All right, let's release the arms, just wiggle it out a little bit. And then we'll take a twist. For my body, it always feels better to have a block in between the knees. You may or may not want to have that. So let the hips lift up a little bit and bump them to the left side of the mat. And then bring the knees up and over to the right side, possibly with a prop in between. Yeah, arms can be out like the letter T or up by your head, whatever feels good on the arms. If it feels good to turn your head from side to side, maybe add that in. All right, friends, let's undo, come back to center. And then slide the hips a little more to the right side of the mat. Bring the knees up and go over to the left. And that little hip adjustment, it just helps keep the spine in alignment as we come into our twist. Anything you want with the arms is fine. Any movement you want to add in with the head is fine. Great. So we did a fair amount of back bends today. Let's come back into the center. For Shavasana, a few options. If your back is feeling a little bit tweaky, you can take the feet kind of wide and let the thighs drop in. That's one option. Some folks prefer the opposite, to let the feet come together and the knees go wide. If you do that version, I would recommend, I like the blocks kind of on the diagonal to prop the legs, or you could have them flat, but don't let the legs just kind of dangle there, because after a little bit of time, they'll start to get grippy. So if you don't like any of those positions and you feel great just being flat, that's fine too. So we're coming into Shavasana. Final resting pose. And before we get completely in, let's just do another little check-in. Scan your body. Notice if anything in particular is calling your attention. Whatever is meeting the floor, whatever is making contact, you indulge into that sensation a little bit. Let yourself really be supported by whatever is under you. What would it feel like if your back could spread a little wider across? Your attention back to your body. If you took a propped version of Shavasana, and make any adjustments to remove the props. Ultimately, we'll end up bending the knees and rolling over to one side. From your side, press down into the floor to make your way up to sit. Hands to heart center. Thank your body, everything that it's able to do. Yourself being here. Namaste.